All right, today we're jumping into a story that's got everything. A lucky accident, some serious brain power, and a warning that, honestly, is more important today than ever before. It's about one of the biggest breakthroughs in medicine. And believe it or not, it all starts with a little bit of mold.
So let's set the scene. We're not in some fancy, sterile, futuristic lab. Nope, our story starts right here with this, a contaminated petri dish in a pretty messy London laboratory. I mean, look at it. To most people, this is just garbage, right? A failed experiment you'd toss in the bin without a second thought. But for the right person, this little disaster held the secret to a revolution in medicine.
Okay, so the year is 1928, and our main character is a bacteriologist named Alexander Fleming. Now, Fleming was a brilliant scientist, no doubt about it, but he wasn't exactly known for being tidy. His lab was kind of cluttered, and you know what? That turned out to be one of the best things that could have happened. So you might be thinking, okay, so he got lucky. But it wasn't just one lucky break. It was this whole chain of improbable events. First, Fleming goes on vacation and leaves a stack of bacteria plates just sitting on his workbench. Then, while he's gone, a stray mold spore, just one, drifts in through a window and lands on a plate. On top of that, the weather in London suddenly gets cool, which lets the mold grow before the bacteria can take over. It was this perfect storm of chance, you know? But the key is, it all happened right in front of a person who is prepared enough to actually notice it. And this is where it gets really good. When Fleming gets back, he could have just seen the contamination and tossed the whole thing out. But he didn't. He looked closer. He noticed this weird clear zone, a no-go area for bacteria, right around that patch of mold. His reaction wasn't frustration, it was curiosity. He just said, "That's funny." And that simple observation, that was the spark. He had just found a natural bacteria killer, this amazing mold juice that he would later call penicillin. So was that it? Did penicillin save the world the next day? Well, no, not even close. Fleming had found this incredible, world-changing substance, but for 10 years, a whole decade, it was basically just a cool thing in his lab. It was like a treasure locked in a box, and nobody had the key. So what was the problem? Well, here's the bottleneck. Fleming was a bacteriologist. He was a germ expert, right? So he was the perfect guy to notice what the mold was doing. But he wasn't a chemist. And you needed a chemist to actually extract the active ingredient and make it stable enough to use as a medicine. His mold juice was super powerful, but also super unstable. He just couldn't make enough of it that would last. It's like finding a gold mine but having no tools to dig. The science was just stuck.
And it stayed stuck. Until 1939. Just as the world was about to plunge into World War II, a new team at Oxford University, led by Howard Florey and Ernst Chain, decided to take another look at Fleming's forgotten research. They essentially dusted it off and said, hey, maybe there's something here. And crucially, they put together the right team, chemists, biochemists, the whole shebang, to finally crack the code.
And this experiment they ran, it was the moment of truth. They took 8 mice and gave them all a deadly dose of bacteria. Then they treated 4 of them with their new purified penicillin. The other 4, they got nothing. And by the next morning, the results were just, wow, black and white. The 4 untreated mice were dead, but the 4 that got the penicillin, they were totally fine, alive and well. This was it. This was the undeniable proof.
Okay, so they proved it works in mice, but now, with a massive war raging, they had a much bigger problem. How do you go from a tiny lab success to a drug that can be mass-produced to save millions of people? The race was officially on. And the scale of what happened next is just mind-blowing. Britain's factories were all tied up with the war effort, so Florey literally took the science across the Atlantic to the United States. And there, this huge collaboration between the government and pharmaceutical companies did something that seemed impossible. They managed to produce 2.3 million doses. Think about that. All in time for the D-Day invasion of Normandy. And just like that, penicillin became the miracle drug of the war. You have to understand, before this, getting wounded on the battlefield often meant a death sentence, not from the wound itself, but from the infection that followed. Penicillin changed everything. It completely flipped the odds of survival for tens of thousands of soldiers. So in 1945, the war is over, and Fleming, Florey, and Chain rightly get the Nobel Prize for their work. It should have been this purely triumphant moment, right? But Fleming, he got up there, and instead of just celebrating, he gave a warning, a really chilling prediction about the future of his own discovery. He basically laid out this scenario. He said, imagine a guy, Mr. X, who gets a sore throat.
He takes a little bit of penicillin, but not the full course, so he doesn't kill all the bacteria. He just, well, he educates the ones that survive. He teaches them how to resist the drug. Then he passes those newly trained super germs to his wife. She gets pneumonia, and when doctors try to give her penicillin, it doesn't work anymore, and she dies. I mean, what a stark warning. He was basically screaming, we have this incredible gift, but if we're careless with it, it will be taken away.
What Fleming was describing all the way back in 1945 is exactly what we now call antimicrobial resistance, or AMR. It's the ability of germs to literally learn how to survive our drugs. He saw it so clearly. The very thing that made his drug a miracle could also be its undoing. The microbes could evolve, they could adapt, and they could make our best medicines totally useless.
And that brings us right here to today. That world Fleming warned us about, it's not some far-off future anymore. We are living in it. And that miracle he found in a dusty petri dish, well, its power is fading.
So, this is the really critical takeaway for all of us right now. The golden era of antibiotics, that time when we always had a new drug to fight infections, that's over. The germs are evolving faster than we can innovate. And you have to really let that sink in. It means that routine stuff, like basic surgeries, or even just a bad infection, could become life-threatening again. And this isn't just a science problem anymore, it's an ethical one. Fleming was right. When one person misuses antibiotics, say for a cold, which is a virus, they can help create resistant bacteria that put everyone at risk. This isn't just my medicine or your medicine, it's our medicine. It's a shared resource and it's running out. So in the end, Fleming's warning is our reality. And it leaves us with a huge question. How are we going to protect this gift for the generations to come? Because the story of penicillin, it was never just about a lucky piece of mold. It's a story about the miracle that happens when a curious mind meets chance. It's a story about how teamwork can achieve the impossible. And, most importantly, it's a story with a moral that we have to take seriously. These drugs are a gift, and it's on all of us, together, to make sure that gift doesn't disappear.